Wait.
Boom. Roasted.
Excellent.
Heidi-ho.
No! I can't lose! You will be the one escaping!
Just doing my job.
Into the night. Abada. 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 Abada.
Bullshit.
Perfect.
Hey, baby.
Cake dead!
If you insist on frightening people, do it with your sculpture.
It's okay. Yeah. Oh, there we go. All right. Well, we are back here on the
Into the night.
podcast. So today we are going to be discussing, I guess you could call this a martial arts movie. I mean, it's a little bit more than that, but it's
100, yeah.
It's definitely in that vein. We were doing Ricky O, otherwise known as The Story of Ricky.
Ricky O.
PBK, give me some background on this one.
Well, I'd just like to first start off by saying that, yes, I am DJ. You are DJ Villain.
I'm
and,
MC
we forgot
Villain
that
and
part.
DJ PBK.
Yeah. And I am PBK. That stands for
Goddamn phone book killer.
This is a 1991 East Asian martial arts film. Action. I would say action gore.
Yeah,
I
sure.
wouldn't call this a horror film. I know a lot of people.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to get at, Villain, with this.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of people will, because there's a lot of practical effects and gore, they want to put this in the same category of J-horror, like Ringu and Ju-on, also known as The Grudge, respectively, in the ring.
Right. Yeah.
And this is none of those things.
This is Hong Kong cinema, correct? But I believe it is.
Yes.
Yeah. It's directed by. Oof. This is gonna be a hard one. I think it's Ngai Choi Lam.
Let me
It stars
use-
Su Wong Fan as Ricky O. I'm probably butchering both of those, but
I think the pronunciation you wanted was the Cincinnati Chinese food over the phone order, which is Lam Nai Choi.
yeah. Wai Choi Lam and starring Shu Wong Fan.
There you go.
And
As Ricky, right?
as Ricky, yes, he is our titular character, looking very much like Robin Shu in Mortal Kombat. Robin Shao.
Gotta love him. Beverly Hills Ninja.
He's got the exact same attire, but I love it. Other than the fact that this is it's originally a manga, I believe, correct?
Yes.
That's pretty much all I knew about it. Is that this is a martial arts movie that was based on a manga, and you said we should we should do this one for an episode, and after watching it, I can see exactly why. But why don't you go ahead and set us up here? Give us a little intro of the movie. We'll start our synopsis here. And in case if anyone hasn't realized at this point, spoilers are going to be abound.
Spoiler alert. This particular film is based on the part 1 of the OVA, which here in Japan stands for Original Video Animation. Part 1 of this series or mythology being The Wall of Hell, which is the prison episode. There's a second episode called Child of Destruction. You're going to see that the second one has virtually nothing to do with this first one, with the awesome prison, the privatized corporate and prison industrial complex theme. That stuff coming overseas to us was released, as we say, chopped and screwed into these 45-minute films. So this is based on like a 45-minute animated, episode.
Right.
And,
right.
Anyway, getting into the plot, very similar to our much beloved RoboCop and Running Man dystopian. I believe the year is like 1990.
2001 is what it
Wow,
was.
look at that. I was gonna say 99.
Yeah, very close, but yeah, it's 2001. Privatized prisons are basically running rampant. Sounds very familiar.
Take it away.
But yeah, we have our titular character Ricky O. He's serving 10 years for manslaughter and assault. And we find out later why. But he's got 5 bullets in his chest that go off in the metal detector.
And the dubbing, right? Why the hell did he have those bullets removed?
Yeah.
Souvenirs.
Souvenirs, yeah. He's an orphan, and he disappeared after high school, and he plays flute.
For 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Where the hell were you, Ricky, for those 2 years?
Yeah. But once we get inside the walls of prison, we start to see some how it really is in this
insanity.
And yeah, it's terrible. You've got 4 cell blocks in this prison, right?
Let's talk about them.
South, east, and west.
And the 4 bosses of each corresponding wing.
Yes, correct. Oscar, first North cell boss, gang member. Very Yakuza'd out, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a whole beautiful Itazumi, a whole back piece, which I'm sure was just done for the film. But I thought that was a nice taste. There is an Oscar character in the anime as well. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but that is based on an actual character in the film. Let me also just preemptively say that the woman that's supposed to be this effeminate gay character.
What's her name?
Rogan. Yeah,
Rogan. Yeah.
Rogan is a real character in the film as well, or rather in the anime. And then the short little guy that looks like Toad from X-Men with those the threading needles, he's just created for the film. That's it. So he's not.
I was about to say, because in the anime there's like an old guy and somebody else, and it seemed like perhaps maybe they just kind of married the 2 characters together for the movie, possibly.
And there's Tarzan too. There's an actual Tarzan guy in the animated story anyway. But anyway, like I said, moving along. The prisons are privatized. Basically, prisoners are cheap labor.
Yeah, they do steel work. I saw them doing that.
And there's no real concern in regards to, much like our actual prison system in the United States, no regards to real prison reform or getting these guys rehabilitation, job skills, anything that they need. So
prison guards are corrupt as shit.
They're taking drug money. They're taking drug deals. So
tell me about the shower scene. Our first real action sequence.
So there's this old guy. I don't know his name, but he's a guy that unfortunately was thrown in prison for, I guess, unintentional vehicular manslaughter. He's rushing. No, he wasn't late for work. If you remember, he's rushing his pregnant wife to the hospital.
Oh, that's what it was.
Running over a guy who ended up being a relative of a plainclothes police officer who had juice within the judiciary system, and this guy gets whatever it is, 30, 40 years or something, and he's up for parole. You see him whittling with a razor, a toy for his son, a wooden locomotive engine. And this is why I love these films, Villain, because it's so meat and potatoes. Like, bad guys are bad just to be bad, The bullies are always picking on the weak for no other reason than to just be pricks and to, entertain themselves. So
yeah, they fuck this guy up.
They push him down. They trip him, and he says, "Oh, I hear you're up for parole," and he's like, "You're not. You're like over my ass, over my dead body. Are you getting paroled out here? Like, you should show respect to your North Cell brother." And mind you, this is an underling of Oscar's, and they slice him in the face, and you witness a beautiful 80s, 90s practical effect where his nose and lips are sliced off. Of course, the COs come in. Hey, what happened? He's stupid. The old man, he fell. He's clumsy. And we see the leg of a beautiful Robin Shoe-esque man trip the other guy, and he lands straight up like a crash test dummy right through a nail with this rubbery ass hand. And it goes right through his eye too, no?
Yeah, it goes right in his eye and his face. Fucks him up.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
so
it's awesome.
That's our introduction to Ricky, basically sticking up for the weaker, the common man, the plebs, the plebeians, as you'd say.
Ricky then is kind of continues this little shitstorm that he starts in the shower with Zorro,
who just ate a horse the other day.
Yeah, he's fucking huge. Zorro.
I love the name Zorro.
Yeah, like, well, this is another thing like I love about like this kind of late 80s, early 90s culture. There were these like very over-exaggerated bad guys. Yes. And Zorro kind of fits in the pantheon of people like a Bobo from Double Dragon, just this big, dumb, idiot guy who, he's, for all intents and purposes, very foreboding, very strong, very...
He's chained up and he's drunk off of eating a horse.
Yeah, I'm going to turn you into mincemeat for a pie, yeah.
Somebody paid me 30 pounds of rice to turn you into mincemeat and put you in a pie.
Yeah, and he set up to look like this big Hulk that's gonna fuck this dude up, or not even a Hulk. He's just a big fatso. He's like the Blob from X-Men, and Ricky just fucking one punches him right in his gut, just erupts all of his flesh just starts kind of falling apart right there, and it's at this point we kind of realize that Ricky is not to be fucked with,
and he's superhuman, and he's got mad cherry pie filling coming out of his pie crust belly.
Yeah, shout out to Qi Gong.
If you remember the Qi Gong, he's healing himself. He's basically taking the chi or the energy from that punch, and he's healing himself. Which then we go into the flashbacks of where he learned this martial art, who it was with, and how long he was doing it. Which I'll let you take over that one since you have actual martial arts experience.
Right. Yeah. I mean, his uncle taught him Qi Gong, which is basically it's a martial art, what you call internal martial art, that focuses on your chi energy or ki, depending on what part of Asia you might be, part of the world you might be living in. It's a focusing of mind, body, and I guess quote unquote spirit,
soul,
to give yourself strength that you may or not normally have. This movie definitely exaggerates it a little bit. Yeah. But things like Tai Chi, Bakwa, Xing Yi, and Qigong are all martial arts that use the internal energy. And, movies like The One with Jet Li also kind of has this concept of chi and your power being harnessed by yourself in superhero capacities. Right. But our boy Ricky is training with his uncle. His uncle's like throwing giant slabs of
he's throwing tombstones. He's throwing tombstones at him.
That's right. It's a graveyard.
And he's catching them.
Tombstones at
breaking
his
him with his chest. Yeah.
His back.
I love it. Love it.
It's great.
Very Streets of Rage too.
But that's why he's got this godlike strength where he's just One Punch Man. Shout out to One Punch Man, just kind of fucking people up to no end. At this point, we introduce the assistant warden. He's a sloppy pig. He's got one eyeball. Tell me just a little bit about the assistant warden.
So he's the assistant warden. He's not given a name. He's got a pretty requisite M. Bison military outfit on, like a general's outfit. And once again, I think
square cut.
Yeah, like me. So he's got the square military cut. His thing, right, as all these villains for these types of like Van Damme, Streets of Rage type films. So this guy's got a hook for a hand. He's missing one eye. He's got Tic Tacs in the compartment inside.
He's got mints in his eyeball.
We're introduced to him eating bloody steak. You can tell he's very piggish. He's very slovenly. They take Ricky in for interrogation after this fight between between the nail in the head guy and after, unfortunately, the guy having hung himself. And they want to know, in Ricky's dossier, it says Ricky Ho, 18
nobody
years
knows anything about him. Yeah.
He goes to one of the top schools in Japan. He comes from one of the top rich neighborhoods. I believe it's Sendagaya.
He's affluent. He's affluent.
Hobbies include the flute, right, which we see him play the leaf all the time, and sports. And I believe he has some martial arts like kendo or judo or something. But then obviously his thing rips, it trails off to where from, let's say, like junior to senior year, he's gone, he's disappeared. And they want to know who the hell he is. They want to know how he has this power. it's believed that he is a kind of like a government spy. And he says, Ricky, who the hell are you? Where have you been for the last 2 years?
Fuck him up. And then Assistant Warden pulls out the photo of Ricky's girl. So we know that Ricky gets pissed off. He's not feeling it.
I hate that part. Yeah.
So we know that there's some backstory there, but we're not. Yeah, we don't get to it. We're not treated to it yet. After that, I believe we cut back to Oscar, who is having a dispute with somebody. This dude gets fucked up with a hacksaw to the face, just boom.
Yeah.
Another thing, like this is random weapon right that this dude has, just like this old school hacksaw.
Prison, yeah.
Gets stuck right in the
thing's
dude's
like
face.
the thing's like 4 feet long too.
Yeah.
Just...
And then the assistant warden comes in and is kind of
he fell.
Yeah, he fell, and it's and the old warden's like, okay, whatever. And we kind of see that Oscar.
Each other.
They're all in bed with
like
each other. They're all yeah, exactly. And that becomes apparent why later. I think Oscar and Ricky start to get into it, don't they? Because I think that's the next thing that happens. This is what I have written.
No, I mean, look. The thing is, they
yard fight.
Yeah, they want to subjugate Ricky. The warden drags him out through the mouth, mind you, with his hook hand, and They want to mess with Ricky. They want to subjugate him. They actually want to make him one of their own. The warden sicks Oscar on Ricky, knowing that Ricky's going to come to rescue this guy. Ricky tells him, okay, Oscar, you want to fight? Just do me a favor, bring Paul down, unchain him, and then I'll fight you. And I mean, this fight is the better than the Zorro fight. It's pretty merciless. We get a couple of good martial arts combinations and whatnot. But once again, we get right into the ridiculousness. And I believe Oscar's first cheap shot is throwing powdered glass in Ricky's eyes.
Oh, yeah. His eyes are bleeding. Looks like Michael
His
Myers
eyes are bleeding.
Part 2.
And he jacks him up a little bit, gives him a couple of combinations, makes him fly 40 feet. And in a brilliant scene, which is ripped straight from the anime, he elbow punches a drain, like a water main, and he flushes the glass out of his eyes. And all the guys are like, Ricky, yay, he did it. Oscar then, I don't know how, but with a knife or something, stabs his right. If you look at my arm here, stabs him in the forearm, or maybe in an homage to Grappler Baki, puts his fingers through his forearm, rips his tendons out. And Ricky just ties him up back like a shoe. And he's like this, like kind of like Arnie did in part 1 in the motel bathroom scene. What do you got? A dead cat in there? And Ricky's back into action, and in the best combination ever, he punches Oscar. Does he punch him in the stomach as well, or he stabs him?
Stabs him in the stomach.
I'm trying to get into like where he's vivisected, right?
Oscar does it to himself, I believe.
Oh no, he's
stabbed.
I'm sorry, he's defeated, and he commits harakiri, right, seppuku, and he's like, come on, he's like, you have to kill me, because the warden's not going to let me live, and he says, no, I'm not going to kill you, I'm a humane person. So he rips open his entire stomach, grabs his large intestine. And he says, come on, Ricky, let's die together. And proceeds to wrap it around his neck like a telephone cord from 85.
Death by strangulation of the, colon and intestines.
Oh, my God. And, bro, he flips this guy over, and in awesome animation, right? He gives him, shout out to Demolition Hammer from the Bronx. He gives him a skull-fracturing nightmare where he punches him in the face as it's being flipped over, and you see the X-ray of his skull, like from like this to like flat, and he lands straight up dead. He's dead. Shout
out to Mortal Kombat. They have the X-ray moves. I'm telling you, that was definitely the inspiration. Oscar's done at this point, so he's our North boss gone, and at this point,
and they ask him actually. Sorry to interject, but later words they ask him, now Ricky, why don't you take over the North Wing? Now that Oscar's dead. Ricky, being a brutal warrior, also has a soft, gentle side. So he gives the mute kid the leaf to play, and he says, stick your tongue out. And he's like, and once again, you see this thing, and it's cut off because he saw something he shouldn't have. So Ricky gives him the flute anyway. And mind you, the kid is like the kid. The kid's maybe like 27 years old, but got the mental capacity of a 5-year-old. And as a way to thank Ricky, he gives him the leaves, the poppy leaves. And he gives Ricky the poppy leaves. And of course, Ricky, I think he crushes it. He sees the heroin already, like liquid heroin through his knuckles. And he says, well, where did you get these from? This is poppy, you know? And now we discovered that not only is the prison abusing the hell out of these prisoners, but they've also got an illegal heroin business going on as well.
Right.
And the next wing leader that we're introduced to, the lovely Rogan, played by Cynthia Luster, which I think her name is Yuri Oshikawa. She's the boss of the weed garden, or the heroin garden, as it were.
Yep, along with Tarzan, and Brandon is what the name was coming.
Oh my God!
Out of the dub, Brandon. But yeah,
Rogan kills Alan, the mute boy. This causes Ricky to become further enraged, he burns
the opium.
The crops, the opium crops. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Rogan and Ricky have a fight, and
it's a good one.
It's a good one. Yeah. And then I think Brandon shows up at the end of the fight to kind of throw his little scorpion blades out.
Stop motion blades.
But they set off the alarm at this point, and I think the warden, assistant warden, is starting to get fed up. It's becoming apparent that Ricky is a huge thorn in their side. And he's not just fucking up prisoners and retooling the structure of power in there. He's
retooling it. Yeah.
Starting to lose their money. Tarzan and Ricky are having their little fight, and like this room that they're in,
it's the danger room.
It's the danger room.
Yeah,
it's like someone hits a switch. All this cement starts pouring in. At first, I thought it was like, to be honest with you, at first I thought it was like, raw sewage. I thought this was like Shawshank Redemption shit. They're in the poop tube. They're going shit pipe.
Frame. Yeah.
But no, it's cement. Tarzan and Ricky are, overwhelmed by it, and in the struggle, Ricky saves Tarzan.
Well, at first, I mean, Ricky busts out in what looks like aluminum foil, like through a steel door.
All right. Tell me about the warden, because
so
this is
warden,
the next major player in the story.
So the warden has a fat, petulant, retarded schoolboy son that's literally dressed as such with a bowl cut, and he's immediately like reviled.
Very feminine.
He makes you want to just reach through the screen and choke him. But so he's a rich warden. He's an older guy, an older Chinese man, replete with bald head and glasses. Everybody's scared of him. He's a lot slimmer. He's older, and this is important. I'm mentioning this now because it's important, right? Towards the end of the film. And the same thing. He basically he's kind of like Lopan, right?
He is. He's a mixture. He's a mixture of David Lopan, and Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Because he's got that.
I was gonna say Shang Tsung, but yeah, he's got the outfit. He's got the fedora. Yeah. He's got the small round glasses. Shout out to Christopher Lloyd. Yeah.
Kind of like a cape-looking trench coat that Judge Doom wore.
Remember me, Eddie, when I killed your I sounded just like this.
Anyway, tell me more about it.
He comes back and he's like, look, what the F's going on here? I'm gone for a week and I lost my heron. Like 3 of my underlings are dead, and I have this wild card named Ricky O messing things up for the operation. And, so like 10 minutes earlier, Ricky and Tarzan are both encased in concrete as to where Ricky breaks out of it. He's then put in some kind of contraption with like support beams, for a building with these things like stabbing him in his neck. And then, like I said, Rogan is smacking him with the razors. Talk to us, tell us who you are. Are you a government spy? Are you here from the police department? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. From that, we get into him being in the room, the ceiling going down with Tarzan. Mind you, he uppercuts Tarzan's jaw off already.
through his
and
mouth.
yeah, he rips this thing off totally. And then what he does is Tarzan in it. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he breaks his fist, but Tarzan already kind of knowing that he's a goner, tries his best, like Bumbata and Arnie, to hold the wall down and to let Ricky escape. Ricky, of course, it's funny. It's like it's kind of like the scene in Sin City where Marv was just in the chains when he could have escaped the whole time. He's like, why didn't you just break out? I wanted to be punched and slapped around. So Ricky breaks through those bars, like the Twizzlers that they're made of in real life. And I think he already starts getting into it with Rogan and what's the other guy's name again? Brandon?
Yeah.
And these names, Brandon from Goodfellas. Ray got shot for the umpteenth time. So I guess at this point, I want to say the next thing of torture, it's just like scenes of like, how can we torture Ricky? He's buried alive for a week underground in the sand.
And then dug up.
No food, nothing. He only has like one bamboo shoot to breathe through. They exhume him from a crane. And I don't know, this is where I kind of lose track. I know that Rogan jumps out from like a trap door in the ground at one point and kicks a pit bull for no reason.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I'm lost with the violence.
He's dug up. All the prisoners start to, like, they try and help him. They like feed him. Remember, he's like, "Thank you for the
he gives
food."
him the rice. Yeah. Okay.
And it's apparent that the warden and the assistant warden are starting to even further starting to lose their grasp on what's happening here at the prison. We're kind of getting to the end here, but before that happens, we get the final flashback of Ricky's girl. And I want you to tell me all about this final flashback, which is the final kind of the final kind of culmination of Ricky's, past and how he got to prison.
It's so painful. Basically, throughout the film, we are treated to little peppered scenes throughout the film where Ricky's dressed in the Ralph Lauren like douche 80s like 85 polo collection, right?
Looks like he's coming out of a JC Penney like catalog winter collection.
Real, and his hair is feathered and lethal, and he's in this daisy field playing with his girlfriend, who, she plays the trope to the T, like virginal, pure as snow, like she has the emotional intelligence of a 6-year-old, and they're literally flying a kite, and you remember the one kite says
airplane at one point, remember?
It's an airplane with a message in kanji that says, let's be together forever, or nothing can stop us forever, blah blah blah. Anyway, we know that they've graduated high school, and she's going away off to college. She ends up going to I don't know how. She just ends up getting kidnapped by these bad guys in Yokohama, of all places. I know that from the actual anime, and she gets taken to this 3rd or 5th or 10th story building where she's about to get raped by these drug dealer bad guys. Before they even touch her, she just wakes up from her catatonic state screaming. The fat guy hasn't even taken his shirt off yet. He hasn't even taken his undies off. And her only other recourse is to not run down the stairs, which was totally open and available for her to do, but to just run off the roof where we treated to a 120-pound dummy with a fucking wig on it and a coconut for a head. And she just ends up splatting on the concrete.
Face first.
Amazing. Face first.
Sidewalk
amazing.
soup.
Amazing and brutal. Sidewalk soup. And so with that being said, Ricky, of course, gets the bad news. He ends up finding the people who were selling the drugs. And I mean, once again, this movie also has an anti-drug theme. The guys that worked, or the guys that were trying to rape his girlfriend, ended up working for this Yakuza underling or whatnot. And we see Ricky with the classic in the rain, the camouflage poncho walking in the rain, and he ends up going to a club where this mob boss is out, and in very douchey 80s mob fashion, he's got two babes on his arms. He goes from 0 to violence in 60 seconds. He goes, "Hey man, what the hell's your problem?" And he starts shooting Ricky, hence the bullets that he kept in. And then the best scene ever, we're treated to a nice aerial flying kick.
Yep.
Breaks dude's leg like a celery stick, and then a punch to his sphere right here, and we're left with a beautiful grapefruit-sized crater.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and he brings him back to this like infantile state where he's like,
Yeah, gave him the Liu Kang flying kick followed by the Jack's gotcha punch. Just send him back to the fetal position. It's dope, man.
And that's hence how he gets arrested for manslaughter.
Right. This is how
To avenge
Ricky's
his
life.
girlfriend.
Ricky's perfect life basically came to a very untimely end, and he decided to take matters into his own hands, which led him unfortunately to where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
But
Good justice was administered.
all hell's kind of breaking loose. Everybody's just kind of running around, and Ricky finds the assistant warden with some bald-headed underling from before who we've seen. Ricky just punches this dude, just kind of a roundhouse punch, like the entire top of his head from like the jawline up.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It flops
like
onto the ground. There's like this
It's a
like
watermelon.
latex mold with like all kinds of brain matter and bones.
Gotta love latex.
It
Gotta
looks
love the
great.
latex.
Look, okay,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the practical effects later, but I mean, it looks great. And then, kind of, praying mantis hits the assistant warden and takes out his other eye. And he's kind of dragging him down, cuts off the warden's hand. And the prisoners are all kind of getting in on it at this point. The riot gear people are coming out.
Prisoners ripped the warden to shreds, rightfully so.
Getting him fucked
Yeah.
up. We get into our final battle here. Ricky versus the leftovers. Rogan, Brandon, and the warden.
Earlier, we're also treated to like the cheapness of the warden when he says, "How do we ration these beans?" And he goes, "We'll give them half the beans for lunch, and then we'll only serve the meat at nighttime for dinner." And we're treated to this basically like a restaurant style, like a school or hospital style kitchen. Well, I mean, really, it is for a giant institutional kitchen for an institution like a federal prison. And yeah, the main kind of star of the kitchen is this meat grinder, which at one point the warden does put, is it the bald guy? He puts some guy that's mouthing off.
He puts some guy in because we're not going to have any food.
Some guy that's mouthing off to him, he's like,
"Yeah, plenty of food now."
And then he serves it up, and we're treated to this Edwards Kroger style, like $8.99 a pound ground beef that comes totally in a perfect like styrofoam plate. But I believe now in the order of execution, he's battling with Rogan. I don't know that he physically kills Rogan. I think that's just because Rogan
right.
in this, Rogan
Rogan's
is
the
played
only
by,
one who kind of
who
is not
escapes.
seen dying. Yeah, or escapes.
Bingo. So gives Rogan a couple of combos, and I think Rogan just does
break. They kicks that like nitrogen tank or steam or whatever it is. Yeah.
She gets steam blown on her, and I think that's what gets her out of the picture.
He says something. At least the dub says, "I'm gonna injure you so that you can never hurt anybody ever again." He just breaks her leg in half right there. Blood going everywhere.
Awesome. Little dude, aka Toad from X-Men, Brandon ends up trying to escape, and I believe it's the same like the
Dust with
Brandon.
Goodfellas.
Brandon ends up getting murked by the warden with these like explosive bullets. Shout out to Big Trouble in Little China.
I was just about to say that. I had the exact same vibes, man. Yeah.
He shoots him, and we see him trying to escape through like a dumbwaiter, and his head and his ass just get big, and he just pops like a balloon. And we're treated to like these roast beef and like a condom filled with like Caro syrup and egg whites and stuff, and classic A plus on the practical effects.
Yeah.
So this leads us to the final round.
Final boss, right? Mr. X, level 8, Streets of Rage.
Mr. X, aka Belger from the Mad Gear Gang. Shout out to Final Fight. He's got his clothes and he goes into his villainous monologue like, Ricky, he's like, you're not the only one that knows Kung Fu. There's one more style that you need to know. And then in a scene that gets me rather sexually aroused, he just starts shaking and the sleeves start getting pulled back.
He's got Dhalsim arms. Yeah, he's like...
But it's funny because he's like this. He's like, but now let's see how good your Kung Fu is with me. And they're like, all right. Chinese, they're like, action. And the guy just starts convulsing. And the sleeves start going down. The pant legs start rising up. Shout out to Lou Ferrigno, 70s Hulk.
It's totally Hulks out. Yeah, it's
and we're made to believe that he's growing, double or triple in size. And he becomes what I can only describe to our fans out there in La La Land as the most low-budget Garbage Pail Kids looking a Bobo thing. I mean, the costume is horrible,
It's bad.
The thickness, like they do the abs, but the costume is so empty. They didn't have enough like polystyrene to fill the bodysuit up. So, and then they make him drool and have snot in his face for no reason.
I was going to ask if there was a reason for that.
I didn't understand. I didn't know.
Why did they do that? I don't know.
Just because he was a mindless, like hulking Abobo type retard. But, the guy grows like 8 feet tall, huge, like double the size of Adobo the chicken. And he's going to Pound Town on Ricky. But I want to say Ricky kind of disposes of him rather easily as well. And I think this is for time constraints and budgetary reasons, because that costume is so tall and floppy to control. They had to. He also got him with. I think he gives him like a double body blow, picks him up with his fist still impaling him in a 6-pack.
Throws him right in the meat grinder.
So you cooked up a story. So you cooked up a story into the meat grinder, Hopper.
What happened to you, Dylan? It's me, trust.
I woke up, Arnie. It's about time you did the same. He goes, this is Kyono Hapa. I know these men. They were fearless. Skin them? Why did they skin the gorillas? So this guy, and I'm guessing this is where most of the budget goes because they probably use like 4,700 gallons of Caro syrup and it's just spraying all over the goddamn room. At that point they had to like close that kitchen down or like demo it because there wasn't enough Ajax to scrape that dirt off the white tiles. And I mean that is, we talk about this in our line of work, the Grand Guignol, that was really the coup de grace piece. Think of pushing an 8-foot monster down a meat grinder and all of it's just splattering all over the place. Epilogue basically with all these villains and all these dudes defeated. I think maybe wrapping things up. I think the prisoners assume or want Ricky to assume leadership of the prison, like as if he wants to stay there.
Doesn't matter.
And he flips the script on him. Yeah, and he just pulls an Axel. Not Axel Rose. What is Axel's name? Not Blaze. Axel Stone.
Axel Stone.
He pulls an Axel Stone and hits a grappa right through this 100-foot concrete wall. And he goes, you're free.
Yeah.
And the prisoners are free. And it ends in a very saccharine way. Good has triumphed over evil. And, the film makes you end up feeling vindicated, satisfied, like if you've eaten a nice Thanksgiving or holiday meal. And you can't beat it.
It's great.
You can't beat it.
So pretty much Ricky O in a nutshell. I do have a couple funny.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Before we rate it, I do want to get into some funny moments that I thought were definitely kind of stood out to me. First one being after the first guy dies, the guy who got the wood scraper down his nose.
Yeah.
There's just this scene with Ricky just punching in the rain. He's just doing his martial arts forms, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, kind of like, damn you, I can't believe you killed him, damn you, and he's just punching. I think that's definitely worth a watch to see that.
He breaks the chains. He says he's already dead.
Yeah, you got it.
Off. Yeah.
Did you notice PBK either that like the prison guards in their like power blue military uniforms? It seemed a bit dainty, and they were very kind of like
fruity, maybe.
Maybe it was just me. I don't know, but they all seemed like dudes they picked up off the street somewhere.
I think
not
like, hey, any sort of real acting chops. Hey, you want to be in this low budget?
You can fit into the uniform. Do you want to be in this movie? But
you look like you're about a size 28 in jeans. You want to be a prison guard?
I also thought it was funny in the Oscar fight when his eye gets blown out. The bird comes in. And
He smacks him in the back of his coconut. Yeah. The crows go after immediately. Yeah.
We talked about the assistant warden had the mints in his eyes. Was it possible maybe there were supposed to be drugs? We both said mints because that was clearly what they said. But is it possible maybe they were supposed to be drugs?
It is. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that seems.
Maybe
they lost something like, in the translation, like mints
purposes or something.
Because he was eating, he was eating bloody meat. But yeah, that makes no sense to me that it wouldn't be anything else other than an illegal substance that these guys are all getting high off of and turning a profit from.
Right. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, the assistant warden had the porn collection behind him. Rogan kicking the dog, you mentioned, which is just like out of nowhere, left field.
Where is that dog in the entire movie?
This Rottweiler just gets punted in half for no reason. I absolutely love that.
ASPCA would have a field day with that guy.
And I also wanted to have a shout out to, I'm pretty sure this is The Daily Show. I mean, this is going way back, okay? We're talking before Jon Stewart, Craig Kilborn. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I know where you're going. Yeah, please talk about it.
So yeah, just real briefly, I want to talk about this because this is a part of my childhood, I guess. Probably you were probably a teenager at this point. The Daily Show with Craig Kilborn.
Always had that exploding head scene, right?
Yeah, it's probably 95, 96, maybe 97. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's, like in their little, title card intro thing coming back from commercial, they have this little clip of Tarzan just head
clap. Yeah.
Someone from the prison. And this is so funny that I did not know that until I saw this movie a couple weeks ago when you and I said we should watch it. And I love that, like things like that when you're like, hold on, what is this from? The scene I just saw is warping me back to like 25 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely hilarious. Just wanted to shout out to the show. Shout out to Craig Kilborn. Shout out to Tarzan coming full circle 25 years later.
With that awesome greaser coif that he had.
Yeah.
I want to add to that by saying that at the time, those from New York City and northern New Jersey might remember, and I don't know if in Ohio they had this something similar, but we had a store on a street called St. Mark's Place in the East Village of Manhattan of New York City. It was called Kim's Video, and we're not in this time anymore at all. It's you think of something, it's on YouTube, it's on Google. You can find it. But Kim's Video is actually where I picked this movie up from, only after having seen it on bootleg through like an 18th generation VHS,
Right.
With like that loud hiss, like
yeah.
Because it's been dubbed a million times. Exactly. So when I picked this DVD up, maybe in like 2001, ironically, the American version of it actually had a little sticker on it that said featuring the infamous head exploding scene as seen on The Daily Show. So,
yeah.
But I'd never seen The Daily Show because we didn't get cable until like 2002. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean that goes into, once again, like you seeing that, bringing you back to your childhood. I'm not going to lament on how shitty of an epic we're living in now, but yeah, I mean stuff like that. Just a random pick from an East Asian violent martial arts film being put on the intro for an American, nighttime talk show.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't beat it.
They clearly had the same taste we do. I want to talk real quick about
Yes.
the gore moments, just in a little more detail.
Sure.
The first one we talked about, the wood scraper to the nose. Absolutely money. Looked great. The guy falls on the nail with the eye in the face. Looked great. Money. Zorro's body blow in the shower. Boom.
Yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely gory.
Beef.
Followed by Ricky's the nail to the hand. Remember he just took it?
Yep. Rubbery hand. Yep. Oh yeah. When Ricky took it and ended up breaking that guy's wrist anyway. Do you remember when he pulls back and the fingers are all
Yeah.
all jiggly? Yeah. Yeah.
Ricky then took a hook to the hand, like we said, from the assistant ward.
Yeah.
That
And then
guy
the desk down.
Yep, exactly. The hacksaw to the face, which we talked about. Oscar strangulation with his own intestines, immediately followed by losing his own eye, immediately followed by having his whole body skinned. The amount of eye gouging and limbs being cut off in this movie, it's almost like you can't even count it.
Yeah.
Tarzan getting, like you said, the punch immediately through, like how creative, the punch from the inside the throat all the way up through the mouth. But yeah, just to top it all off, the explosive bullets and the meat grinder.
Beat by beat. But some of these are like story for storyboard taken from the animation, which is why I tell our viewers, watch the anime first before watching this live action version. It's almost as if we should watch this movie again, like a Mystery Science 3000, and have like a gore, like awesome body counter, like on the bottom.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. I mean, when you say it like that in succession, it not only sounds like a lot, but it does not even describe how much goes into all of that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, we two guys can't do it justice by just talking about it. And I mean, literally, I know it sounds like it's just like one violent scene after another, but there is a cohesive plot to it. There is a story arc. You know, it works on for me anyway, and every other like red-blooded heterosexual child on earth. Sorry. It speaks to the hero's journey, good versus evil, the David and Goliath story, which I can never get enough of, you know? And I mean, in the time that we live in now, I can't think of a better story than a guy for the people sticking up for the little guy. This in much the same way the Toxic Avenger, you know, but through the lens of gore, violence, 80s practical effects. I mean, it's a movie that, dare I say, you could kind of redo it now with, help me out here, Ninja Assassin. Remember the Korean guy's name was Rain?
You stole that. I was going to say that this guy has that same kind of look and feel. Yeah.
The guy Rain, who plays the hero in Ninja Assassin, which I believe was from 2009, against Sho Kosugi being the main Shogun bad guy. Maybe him, Tony Jaa, but he's already old, or maybe like Iko Uwais, the guy from The Raid. I could, you know, unless, I don't know if there's a new martial arts superstar floating in the ether, like in
what's that guy's name who played Storm Shadow in the G.I. Joe movie?
I never saw it, but yeah, that's his standalone film, right? Oh no, Snake Eyes, don't you?
You're thinking of Snake Eyes. I'm talking about the guy who played Storm Shadow opposite him.
Yeah. I saw the second.
Where is it?
And I only saw the second one, I think, because I just wanted to see
Lee Byung-hun. I don't know if he's a martial artist or if he's an actor or both.
Right.
But either way.
Right.
Anyway, well, that leads us basically into our rating here.
Yes, sir.
So, PBK, what would you rate Ricky O, a.k.a. The Story of Ricky?
I'm going to rate it the same amount of bullets that are in Ricky's body, which is a classic 5 out of 5. Yeah.
Not bad, not bad. My rating came down just a little bit. I went from 5 out of 5 to 4 out of 5.
I'm curious.
Only because of, like you said, the ending feels just a little bit rushed at the climax, and that's fine. There's no problem with it. Yeah. But also just the fact that, like, when I went to rewatch it, I still had a great time. It was still good.
Right.
But I think for rewatchability, I feel like I need this is like something I watch maybe once a year, once every 2 years or so. It's still 4 out of 5. It's still a great movie.
Aces.
But I think also my score may have been a little bit higher if I had originally watched this movie either with you in person or somebody else in person.
It would have been a laugh fest.
For sure. Both times I watched this movie, I watched it by myself. So maybe a 4.5 would be a little bit more in line.
Right.
But either way, this is still a great movie, and I highly recommend it. This is definitely on our radars and our vibes and the same kind of, stuff that you and I are into, and probably the fans of this. If you're going to be watching any of the movies on this list, I think Riki-Oh is up there with Samurai Cop as far as entertainment. And just kind of like group watchability.
I do want to add before we wrap up here, it says here on Wikipedia there was an unofficial sequel called Dint King Inside King, which is Story of Ricky 2 or Super Powerful Man, was released in Hong Kong in 2005, and it was never released in the West, in the States or Europe. And Fang Shu Wong is again cast in the title role and wears the camouflage poncho seen in flashbacks and in the manga as well. So
right, he looked like he gave me Bruce Willis vibes in Unbreakable wearing that poncho. Also, did you notice at the end when the warden hulks out, they have it reminded me of like Power Rangers, the way it was shot with the smoke coming out, like the shot. I got Power Ranger vibes.
Like when Goldar grows giant, or any of the turn into Zords.
And I'm sure that's just a filming technique instead of they're not ripping it off. But I don't know. I loved it. Right? Like, let's be honest. The story of Ricky, as you and I had talked about weeks earlier when I first watched it, this movie to me is like, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I've always been a fan of everything about it, and I always saw it. It's kind of also at this point, it's known that the Mortal Kombat, the game and the movie and the story, all that, it's all kind of influenced by a bunch of things from 80s culture, as well as some of the early 90s stuff. But if I could kind of wrap it up in like a recipe, right? Mortal Kombat is one part Bloodsport, starring Van Damme, who's basically Johnny Cage. Know that.
Yeah.
It is one part Enter the Dragon, starring.
I was going to say Bloodsport is
Bruce
beat
Lee.
for beat Enter the Dragon in a way. Anyway.
Yeah.
They all come from Enter the Dragon.
Exactly.
All
And
these video
then
games.
one part Riki-Oh with the violence and the over the topness.
Sure.
And then 2 parts Big Trouble Little China.
Yes.
Starring Kurt Russell, directed by our boy John Carpenter. And that's another thing I kind of got, in my closing comments. I got some slight Carpenter vibes from this movie. Not like this movie could have been directed by John Carpenter, but like the music score and some of
the music was good. Yeah, the synths were very.
I think that's another thing that went on my score. The music was really well. It's not perfect or anything, but like the themes and the things that they decided to put in were very on par with the tone of the movie. But yeah, I thought it was great. In closing comments, I'd watch this again and I'd highly recommend it. What about you, PBK? Anything else you'd like to add?
Not much, only in that I think a film like this done seriously, let's say, help me out here. Let's say if like David Cronenberg, right, or Ridley Scott did this film, and maybe less of the gore and more of the politics and the story around it, I think you could have had a real good prison story, much like a Shawshank, a Blood In, Blood Out, American Me, Bad Boys, the original with Sean Penn from 1982.
Lockup with Stallone?
Yes. I'm trying to think of other, maybe The Hurricane with Denzel, even though that's kind of like feel-goody, but...
The Last Castle with Robert Redford and James Gandolfini? Is it The Last Castle, or is it just called The Castle?
I think it's called The Castle, where they're just building that sand castle up and then breaking the wall down every day. Yeah. I think if we done today, and everything is up for grabs in regards to remakes.
Hold on.
I-
Say that again.
If somebody's making calls.
Yeah. Just say that again.
I said now in 2023 going into 24, everything is up for grabs as long as you could purchase the IP. I think you could redo this movie, and it doesn't have to be an East Asian only, like martial arts film. You'd still have to do it with the construct of the bosses and like the illegal drug thing. Look, another movie I didn't even tell you, Death Warrant with Van Damme. That's a film where the plot is basically they're using prisoners for organ, illegal black market organ donation.
He was also in Hell, which was a pretty decent little prison movie.
In Hell, yeah. That was what's that guy's name? Ringo Lam.
I'm not familiar with him.
He kind of became to Van Damme what Scorsese is to Leonardo DiCaprio in the early aughts. I mean, Van Damme just fell off out of Hollywood after Garbage Double Team, and he just literally, maybe he might have done like four. He might have done 4 or 5 films exclusively with Ringo Lam, all shot in either like Prague, Czech Republic, or Hong Kong.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think hero story, it's there. Gore is there. Bad dubbing, it's one of these like Samurai Cop, like unintentionally funny because of the dub and because of the bootleggedness of the practical effects, but
still very competently made, especially for early 90s, Hong Kong cinema.
And I think you don't even have to be into Hong Kong cinema to enjoy this film. I think you could be like an American, kind of like red-blooded American into like Jason and Freddy movies, and you could find enjoyment in this the way you would like a RoboCop or a Predator or any American big muscle-bound, because Ricky is a muscle-bound action hero in this regard, albeit more subdued and more sensitive and not as tropey as a Rambo or a Dutch,
Yeah.
What the fuck did wrong? Tell me.
That kind of comes full circle, considering we were talking about this going in the horror category earlier in the episode. Mm-hmm. But Ricky O, both of us think it's a great movie. We think everyone should take a time to watch it. Find it however you can. We kind of just Googled it, and it kind of just used one of the first couple results, and it worked. And
Arab version, right?
Yeah, exactly. With Persian
version.
ads.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, Persian version.
But
that's the name of my new hip band, Persian version.
In all honesty, like we said before in our last episode, if this is something I could find and buy, I would love to have it in my collection.
Yeah.
But good luck. It's going to be tough to find it in this day and age, where some of these gems are. They're somebody on Amazon might be selling it. Who knows? Yeah. But anyway, I think that'll do it here for Into the Night. I have been DJ Villain.
And I've been MC PBK.
We will see you guys next time. Thanks again.
Peace.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.